I survived 100 days on an island, 200 blocks above the void. This is Infinite Skyblock, a world full of every biome in the game just out of my reach, whether it be a simple spruce tree or an entire ancient city with a warden awaiting my arrival. I turned this starter island into my own custom biome equipped with everything I need to survive. So sit back, relax, and enjoy 100 days in Infinite Skyblock. To start off, I'm hovering above the void with very little to keep me safe, so I have to cherish everything on the island. I grab up the grass, which grants me 3 seeds, enough for a single loaf of bread. Then I tore away the one thing keeping me alive, the dirt, keeping the bottom layer and using what I mined to protect the tree. As I mined it up, I just prayed that the saplings of life won't succumb to the darkness below. While that decided my fate, I wanted to test a sea pickle idea I had. For some reason, I get it in the chest, and I wanted to see if I can multiply the number of water sources I have. But when trying to place it down, I realized it only places in water source blocks and I can't duplicate on its own. But I still remembered how to make a cobblestone generator, which only helps us further our progress if we get a freaking sapling, please! After getting 2, I planted one down and put the other one away. I do not trust myself. Then I made a wood pickaxe and mined my first cobble. Oh, it went in the lava. Cobblestone generator complete. We have a working source of gray blocks. Now to just throw this off the map and bye-bye. Time to go where you belong. My lordship, look, I'm allowed to like the stone pickaxe. For what it is, it doesn't get enough love, and I'm here to give. And for the fun part of Skyblock, mining the generator while watching regular show. Bordeaux and rigs are much more entertaining than looking down on this crappy island. Speaking of which, when I had enough, I worked on cutting away the island and building it out to a tolerable dirt circle. In the beginning, the island won't improve very much, but over time, trust me, this place turns into a paradise. After spending all night staring at cobblestone, I had 3 stacks and a dream to not live on this small platform, so we start the small arc of expansion. Nothing particularly special, but I do keep its round shape so my sanity doesn't jump into the void. During that time, the unthinkable happened. An alliance was formed. Oh my word, we couldn't have asked for a better tree. Like, this is perfect. I know, I hate these trees. I absolutely despise them, but for this world, I'm gonna say I like the giant oak trees, all right? I will never say it again. Don't clip this, all right? I'm never gonna say this again, but I like the big oak trees for Skyblock. And only for Skyblock. I don't want these things popping up in my other worlds thinking we'll chat over a cup of tea, because I talked about them nice once. After that, I got to work on Extension Arc V2. However, this plan was made for 2 reasons. 1, I need a bigger island, and this is how I'm gauging it. 2, I need a skeleton to spawn, so the area I've created will allow for our first mobs. But cobblestone is a real issue when attempting an extension. So much so, I was running back and forth between the generator and the edge of the island to try and spawn a mob across the land. Once it worked, I crit him out for those bones without sustaining damage, and it was time to big brain Minecraft physics. I bone mealed under a water source block and got more water source blocks, which means infinite water source achieved. Up until this point, I've given you a pretty thorough detail of my day, but all I did on day 3 was mine this block. I mean, I'm sure I can come up with some literature about how intense it is to mine a cobble gen, but I'll save that for Shakespeare 101. Beginning of day 4, I was chopping trees, grinding out the island, and using my cobble for more extending. I started mapping out how big the island was going to be, or how big I wanted it to be, let's just say. She's large. But before counting my cobble before it hatched, a wandering trader spawned in. Oh my, dude, you don't, why? Why are you scaring me like that? Yay. Walking target practice. But he had come bearing no gifts. To the slaughterhouse with you. But I did find some cool leads on the ground. Then the mobs came in while trying to get this build done, and I wasn't a healthy man to begin with. I even saw an Enderman going schizo on me, like TPing all over the place, eventually dropping his balls. What a find. Now back to the extension on day 5. Things were just not going well. I thought I had made a perfect plan of action, but my execution was lacking. I sat there for way too long trying to figure out why my island was uneven. I think it's pretty funny when I mess up bad enough for 90% of a day to be me using up all of my brain power. And when the 2 brain cells finally agreed with each other, I was able to start filling the island in. Bad plan. Bad plan. Way too many mobs spawned in because of what I've done. I led them to the edge in hopes that they would push each other off, but I messed up. Okay, That could have gone way worse. I escaped with my life and a few more mob drops to add to our collection. Then I got back to filling in our circle with whatever cobblestone I had left over. But as a common theme throughout the series, it was nowhere near enough. So I spent the rest of day 6 and all of day 7 watching Netflix because I'm not staring at this generator for that long. Filling it in. The island's been looking like SpongeBob recently, but I want to survive the void. So we're back to filling it in. And then running out of cobble. I'm telling you, it's a theme. Day 9, I'm moving on from this stupid generator. Heck, I'm tearing the entire middle part of the island down in favor of a small pond. I want something nice to look at for once after making my eyes bleed from mining. So I installed a pond falling into the void. I extended out the bottom and put on a floor because I want fish to spawn in here. I don't really have much company out here, and I don't really know if fish will spawn, but by doing this, I'm gonna learn. However, while making the build, a ton of sea life spawned at the bottom, favoring death over me. Sounds about right. Then I remade the cobblestone generator as a necessary evil. It's kind of fun now because I'm like getting bullied by it. The blocks are really trying to get me to not mine it. Day 10, we're fishing. Even though the lake doesn't appear to be full of life, it sure is. My goal is to clear out all of the living and put them in my stomach. I'm starving out here, awaiting my death, and fish are the only solution. After spending my entire day hungry, I cooked up what I had caught and satiated my starvation. But this is a looming problem we can't run from, unless we actually get the farms up and running. You thought you'd get something fun to watch, like a nice relaxing farm day? Nope, more cobble. Push, 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 push. I feel like I'm in a roller coaster the way this cobblestone doesn't want me here. All that work because we have somewhere to head. As mentioned, the world is infinite, full of randomized islands that can eventually bring me the entire game. Well, I'm heading to the Spruce Island, the first wood I want to mass produce. Alongside the sweetberry bush I can use for food. I'm solving 2 problems in one here, and to add to that, I get extra dirt, which will just expand the farms. All in all, bridging out here was the right idea. Back at home base, we plopped in our pumpkin seeds to grow later, as well as place down the first spruce tree. Everything on the island is moving smoothly, but we still have a ton of leftover cobble, and since I've already been scared of the drop once this day, I may as well make it twice. We're going for the jungle, baby. This island gives us jungle wood, cocoa beans, melons, access to vines, and even more farmland. We tore it all down, but notice this area gives us a direct line of sight to the desert temple sitting meters away. So I spent the rest of my time bridging over there. I really need the loot. Getting iron tools or 2 diamonds for an enchant table would be massive for us. But when I got close, something awful happened. Oh, that skeleton is a little... There's a lot of them. They're underneath stuff too. How am I meant to get over here? Oh man, I just really gotta hope the sun helps me out. Oh, this could go really wrong really fast. Oh! Dude, what just happened? All of it just blew up. Why did it all just... What? I actually wanted the loot. Why did it blow up? What did I do? Well, that sucks. I think what happened was a mob probably spawned inside and decided to end our fun by kermitting him and all the chests. After the nuclear test fire yesterday, I noticed another desert temple way too far out, but it was my only shot at acquiring some new epic tools. To make up for that mishap, I spent the entire day bridging over to this other temple in hopes that I won't experience the Second World War. Again. When I finally reached it, nothing was inside. No explosions went off, and I was safe. I grabbed the TNT from below and looted the chests. I got various forms of mob drops, a looting 3 book, ores, and of course our first diamond. One of 2 on the way to making an enchant table, or one of 1,476 to make a full beacon. We're just shy. But the trek home took up almost the rest of the day. I did stop to take down the acacia biome. Don't worry, I would never actually use this wood. I just wanted it for the dirt. We got our first spruce tree to grow, and I took this excitement to the extreme as I spent the entire day mining trees. Tree after tree, terrible axe break after terrible axe break, I was working on getting our wood up. But I had a reason. The base we make is primarily going to be made of spruce, as always, but I also need the wood for villager trades later on. Plus, after building out all the way to that desert temple, I'm eerily close to a village, so I might make a break for those guys early on. Day 15 was mob farm day. We need a way to get bones and gunpowder for later, and experience for when we need enchants. So I ran over to where I stole the spruce tree from and started on the build. It's obviously one you've seen before, very lackluster. I'm not trying to make anything groundbreaking here, just a working farm. And I have to say, I banged out this build. I went with the 2-story one as well, and it was almost done in a single day. I really locked in for the trapdoor placing, as I find it the hardest part of this build. But the roof was still incomplete at the end of the day because I ran out of spruce. I did all that mining in previous days just to not have enough. I blame the Titanic for some reason. I used the little bone mill I had at base to grow some trees pretty quickly so I could get the farm up and running. I also pray that the zombies drop iron because the stone axe thing is really getting to annoy me. But eventually I had enough. I water bucketed up the farm, placed down the final slab roof, removed the torches, and got the heck out of there before I'm blown up by a creeper. While it revved up in productivity, I built a bridge. Not a good one, just a really short one that makes the area easier to get to, or easier to not fall off of. Then I made a wood sword, which was all I had on me, and slayed the merchandise. I love when a wood sword feels like a diamond one when used against already injured, helpless mobs. I got a ton of human flesh to eat, bones to break, and a potato. The single most best find of all time, as I can grow it, bone meal it, and cook it for our best starvation-resistant medicine yet. Day 17, grinding day. As stated, mob drops are invaluable, and I need them to survive, so the entire day I'm at the farm getting as much loot as possible. I'm also glad I made this a double-decker farm because this whole thing works wonders. It's so fast and works so well. I even was getting extra pieces of armor, swords, and iron ingots along the way. By the end of it, I had like 4 stacks of every mob drop alongside a health potion and bows to use against any unwanted creepers. But we're back to cobble. It's villager time, and based on how much I needed for the desert temples, I'm gonna need so much more of this stuff if we're getting where I want to go. Just me being abused by stone for 20 minutes, but then I hovered the rock over the void for hundreds of blocks to make my way over to a village. This is the first time I have seen other human life that isn't undead. Oh, and since it's 1.20, this was my first experience with a camel, and I forgot that I can get extra iron from the iron golem sitting over here. Then I plopped a villager in a boat and began our ride home. The entire ride is like 20 minutes. It's awful, but my pal Frank and I enjoyed the sunset on the way home. It was pretty scary with all of the mobs on top of the temple right above us. However, we made it to base safe and sound. And the next day, I went back to the village getting Frank's wife. Her name's DeFrank. Her name's DeFrank. Could have taken more time to come up with that, but we also enjoyed a sunsetty night, and I think she likes me. Pardon the naming situation. But now that we have villagers, the real fun can begin. We'll be progressing fast now. Day 21, I'm heading back to the village because the mob spawner isn't good enough to produce beds, and we need a lot of those for breeding the villagers. And to specify, I'm not the one breeding the villagers. They just do it naturally after I make them. Anyway, the village had beds, so I went around carefully collecting them all. The sand around me was falling into the void, and I was pretty close a few times because I lived my life on the edge. I also had to sleep in the village because crossing back at night is deadly. But since I'm already here, I may as well venture to the nearest desert temple. An elytra would be really helpful right around now. Inside, I got more mob drops, which I don't need anymore, a few pieces of gold, emeralds, and dune armor trim, alongside 2 golden apples. After getting all that, I had to walk home for like 5 minutes. The commute is really annoying. Back at base, I put down all the beds the villagers will ever need and try to grow more food for them to breed. I don't actually want them fed, I just want more children. Notch has a really weird idea of how Minecraft should work. Day 23, we are rolling our first farmer villager. I need to trade with like potatoes and bread so I can easily get emeralds and food for me and the villagers. When it happened, everything from here on out will be solved by the villagers. I bone mealed up a ton of potatoes and traded for my first few emeralds. I got them made up to apprenticed and unlocked a few more trades that I can't use right now. Then gave them bread so they hopefully get busy, if you know what I mean. If you're wondering why I don't have a Fletcher, it's because I don't have access to flint and it's impossible to get at the moment. So for emeralds, I'm relying on the farmer. I made a new pumpkin farm with my leftover dirt and went back to using bone meal on the potatoes. The mob farm was a good call, but having enough iron for an anvil so I could use the looting book would be so much better. Day 24, I made an armor. I acquired the bottom half of my first iron set. Then they reproduced twice. Twins! In the future, I might be able to get a Fletcher, but for now I can't afford to upgrade the armor. Then I grabbed more bones to grow the pumpkin seeds in an unlikely chance that the farm works well enough to get me emeralds. Then I made my first iron pickaxe because my idea was to head to the nether and mine the gold to trade for iron, so that eventually I could get looting and ramp up our potato production. But when I bridged over to the nether portal island, a chest rendered in for the first time. I had completely forgotten, but this could have flint, and I stress could. But I just really want 2 flint, please. Oh, there's 4! There's actually 4 flint in here. Oh my word, I don't even have to go to the nether. Oh, children, grow up, please. I need a Fletcher. I need the trade. But while they refused to help me, I got to cutting down trees. We're back in the lumberjack business, baby. Time to deforest. I worked hard yesterday, and I was rewarded with a grown-up Fletcher to go alongside my stacks of wood I collected. Locked in that trade so fast and got to work. We have 28 emeralds now, and I can finally start to upgrade the armor. Now, the armor I buy here has 2 purposes. resources. Even though I'm wasting emeralds on iron gear, I can do something at the very least to make it recycled. Turn them into iron nuggets. Maybe eventually I'll get an ingot or two back. It's kind of okay, but I am heavily wasting emeralds here. And when the man was ready for more, he gave me a free pair of chain boots. Is this just free? What? It says it's free. That's false advertising. Oh, he gypped me so hard there. He totally said it was free. What a scam. Even still, the Fletcher trades are really ramping up his progression. I'm getting quite a few emeralds out of this one guy before he jacks up his prices. And after buying a metric ton of shields, I got access to diamond armor. It's too expensive, but at least I have it. All of that was like 5 minutes of work. Imagine how fast we'll be progressing when I've got 100 villagers. The rest of the day was spent trading with the new Fletcher that grew up, getting my bottom pieces of the diamond armor set, and going back to the potato method for more emeralds. But we all know the trees work way too good. Day 26, more breeding occurred alongside the first iron golem to spawn. That's right, I can farm iron manually now. And I hate to admit it, but that's kind of what I do for most of the series. I always forget iron farms are an option. Whenever one would spawn though, I would make sure to kill it for the 3 to 5 iron. Also, my Fletchers were price gouging me, and since I own the market, I'm having second thoughts about having these guys here. But they did give me a full set of diamond armor. That's right, we're at 4th of the way through the video, and I'm rocking full diamond and stone tools. Someone give me an incompetence medal. While the islanders were getting freaky, I moved on to planning out the island build. I'm gonna make a base that throws me out of my comfort zone. Normally, I make a super nice medieval structure or some kind of small village, basically a house that makes sense. This time, I'm putting everything into one building, and I'll make it like an observatory type thing, but nothing I'm used to. After planning out the circle with cobblestone for how big it's gonna be, I went back to the trees. You would not believe how much wood I'll be needing. And after putting in so much work tree chopping, I went to cobblestone punching. Or better yet, rejecting. This generator I made really doesn't want me in it. But after that, I got back to basics. Fletcher trades for emeralds and iron golem kills to stack up the iron reserves, because we're going for tools. I made a toolsmith and got to work, but his only trade I could do was for iron. But wasting it isn't worth it, right? Wrong, I did it immediately, and we're back to 1 iron. The only real issue I'm running into now is Fletcher prices. With only 2 of them, they don't reset very fast, and I still have no way to get flint. But iron tools were a different story. My man Billy Bob Joel over here unlocked an iron axe and shovel for me. Not gonna use the shovel, but the axe is totally worth it. The difference in ability an iron axe makes is crazy, and by nightfall, I was just slowly gathering all the materials I could for emeralds. Day 28 was more in the same. Lots of deforestation, villager trades, crop harvesting, all just to maybe one day unlock the diamond tools. You won't believe it. More high-priced trades I can't afford, and iron golem slaughtering. But big news, the Fletchers reset trades back to normal so I could turn a profit. And all the iron I got allowed me to upgrade Billy Bob Joel to the diamond axe. I'm also trying to get grass to spread to the outer island so we can start work on the build. Then I spent the rest of my day basically breaking my own axes. No point in wasting these purchases. Day 30, we finally started some base operations. Time to get this place in order with a spruce road. I have loved adding this very road to a few of my builds in the past, and it all starts with some simple logs. Once it almost fully surrounded the island, I went back to villager trades. I had a terrible moment of clarity when I realized villagers trade gold for emeralds, not the other way around. I actually made this cleric villager and upgraded him for no reason now. Then I went on to buying a ton of axes to unlock the diamond pickaxe. The amount of cobble I could mine now? Let's freaking go! Then we had an imposter among us, trying to sell me spruce saplings as if he can't see the giant tree behind me. But I did find free saddles on the ground. Alright, with the diamond pickaxe, it's nether time. I ran over to our portal, moved all the lava over in case I needed it for something later, and fixed up the portal so it will light, which I still don't have flint and steel for. So instead, I tried my best to use lava and wood to get the project going, and let's just say it's a mystery on how bad I am at this. It was for some reason really hard to figure out the lighting path of lava. Eventually, I gave up knowing full well I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, it lit while I walked away. Thank you for that. That's really cool. I'm glad you did that. I walked away. That's yay. You ironic son of a Bitcoin. But now we head to the nether, except some friends showed up. And yes, this video was recorded on Halloween. I know what year it is now, all right? Don't judge me. Once in the nether, I forgot it's also nothing. We have no way of farming gold or anything of that matter. This place was basically useless. Day 31. I'm not giving up. I mapped out the nether waste biomes to the best of my abilities and swear to make a gold farm. Now, I started this how anyone would, like a normal mob grinder. I don't want them to die on impact, and I want them to be funneled. If you think I know what I'm doing, you'd lose that bet. I continue with a decently recognizable design for the rest of the day, but realized I need so many resources for this. So I spent all of day 32 collecting a ton of wood and cobble. I need the wood for trapdoors since I had a brilliantly awful plan, and cobblestone because it won't hurt. Back in the nether, the farm had spawned in a bunch, and I mean a bunch of piggies, some with murderous intent and some chillin'. Luckily, I brought gold and got my first trades going with these guys. I even got 20 iron nuggies, so I can get 2 more ingots at least. I continued expanding out the landing platform and visualized where the lava was going to go. Working with so many pigs around was a challenge, to say the least, but eventually the lava showed me I had no idea what I was doing. So I reorganized the entire farm's layout using way too much cobblestone that I should have kept on me and headed back home with one prize. Gravel. You thought I wanted iron. Nope. We can make more Fletchers, baby. Fletchers, Fletchers, Fletchers. We got them going, and now we got emeralds cooking. But I'm still more interested in the nether right now. When I try to get back up top, a lot had spawned in. Magmas, hoglins, the whole 9 yards. And imagine if I hit a pigman right now. Thankfully, I'm a smart thinker and burned myself alive. I survived, and the hoglins didn't. Never make that your first plan of action. Back to lava casting. I think I finally had the right idea for how it should work, but needed more lava. But when leaving, I made a slight mistake. I'll probably live. Oh, they're still after me. I barely escaped with my life. Dumb choices are normally how my videos end. I grabbed more buckets of lava from the overworld. Thankfully, I saved them and headed back in. First, I had to clear out the mobs mad at me, which worked a treat, but getting up again was the problem. So many things spawned in, and I didn't want to mess up the farm once it's active. But eventually, I was able to run around and place all the lava needed. Now I just need to get rid of the pigmen in the way. Thankfully, it was easy with my big brain. Then I made sure nothing can spawn on this layer, and boom bam bop, we done. Except I still had to go above and make a bunch of railways for the pigmen to spawn on, and then place trapdoors so they would fall on their own. So we're relying on Minecraft AI to make this work, and we're like nowhere close to being done. Taking a break from the nether, I farmed up some wood for more trades. Then I used those trades to level people up and get iron axes, which I smelted down for even more iron. We were sitting at a solid 0, so that's why I did this. Then I just went back to more trees, partially for trades and partially for trapdoors on the pigman farm. Speaking of which, round 8, we're going back in. Right off the bat, I was threatened by a ghast who just never shot at me. I was terrified to go up with this thing here, but I did it anyways. Live and learn, I guess, because he fired back. But after that, he was pretty chill as I went back to work on the gold farm. These rows costed way too much material. And now that I'm thinking about it, I could have just done an exact replica of a normal mob farm and it would have been a lot better. But I just never thought about it. Although coming up with all this on my own had me hyped to try it out. After finishing it up, I waited around a while to see how good it was, and it worked. Not the best, but it gets the job done. Back in the overworld, I worked my way up to a diamond sword trade. But after realizing I don't have enough diamonds for either an enchant table or enough iron for an anvil, I was kind of in a terrible situation with a really bad sword, which made me not want to go to the nether again, and instead I used my gravel to duplicate the dirt we had. I have very, very, very little dirt in this world, and the gold farm was my only hope at getting more. So to see it even get us this much was pretty cool. The next 4 days were a grind. I started out by grabbing more spruce wood to build with this time because we're finally filling out the path. I stripped the logs down, chucked in stairs on both sides, and finished it off by filling it in with planks. This is a very baby step 1 in the build, but it's nice to see color on the island. Into the nether, I wanted to make the walk a tiny bit safer as we are farming a bit. Testing out the farm, it did work. I was for sure getting gold, just not at the rate I would like. I have a looting 3 book, but I can't even use it right now, and it sucks. So the new plan was bridge all the way over to the closest bastion without getting hit off by a ghast. Great plan. That took like a week to accomplish. Look how far I had to go. But this place was no letdown. I'm super nervous going in here with basic diamond gear, but I'm a Minecrafter. What could go wrong? I safely made my way over to the chest, getting actual good amounts of gold alongside blocks of iron. I hadn't been this rich yet. Then I got my first ancient Deborah. Baby steps, people. Baby steps. That's a lot of piglins who are gonna trade with me. Yeah, I know you wanna. Get in the hole. Main goal of this is gravel and iron. Only 2 things I really need right now. Out of 30 gold, I got a half a stack of gravel and 13 iron nuggets, with a full inventory of garbage. The rest of the bastion wasn't much better. So many mobs were here, cause this is the only place they can spawn. The chest only got me 4 more blocks of gold, another block of iron, and a netherite scrap. Good haul for being as broke as I am though. At base, I was able to expand the amount of dirt we had ever so slightly. But the best part of the entire day, a looting 3 sword in our new anvil. The nether is gonna be a piece of cake now. I start the next day testing out moss, seeing if it's viable to help with the lack of dirt. But since it only turns stone into moss, I don't think it'll be useful, unless I just use it as more decoration. With the gold I have, it's nether trading time, but I don't have a way to trade yet. So I made a spawn platform pretty close to me while I grinded out the mob spawner. My inventory was filling up fast. So back to the overworld I went for 2 different things, furnaces and chests. The furnaces are for the swords, so that I can be smelting them down while just whacking the mobs. And after being in here long enough, I started to lead over piglins for trading. But the bridge I made really just led over hoglins. They were not fun to play with. After long enough time, I trapped the piglins in a box and disconnected the bridge so I won't suffer anymore. It was great to have a trading area and a farm. And the looting sword was going ham. I may have also accidentally reconnected the bridge, which led over some real hoglins. The fight was not great for my health, and I almost got pushed off the map. The rest of this exciting day was just killing for gold, smelting for gold, and throwing the gold and praying for gravel. I finally realized why I made a cleric villager. This rotten flesh gives me emeralds now. After that, I continued to transform dirt until the entire middle section of the island was filled in. After 40 days, we have a dirt circle. What an accomplishment. But now we can start the build. The first layer will of course be made of spruce. It's the only logical choice. So I went around placing pillars, then making the windows on our first floor, as well as kind of tackling the entrances at the end. Well, it took a while to be a fan of how the fences were placed, but it works. Back to work on the base, I made the roof rim, basically the start of our first disconnect. Eventually, I'll be adding oak on top of this, so I have to make it a smooth transition. And after grinding some more cobblestone, since I never have enough, I got to work on an interior staircase. I'm keeping the pond inside the base, so instead of making a traditional staircase where the pond would be, I wanted to wrap it around it. I'll make this thing match on the other side, but I really liked how this turned out. To start out the day, I went for more spruce chopping, iron golem killing, and oak farm making. That way, when I actually need oak, it'll be partially ready. Inside, I made the second wrapping staircase, and it looks sick. The entire build at the end of the video will be amazing. And while it would be fun to spam bone meal on the oak trees to continue the build, it was back to the nether for me. I spent a lot of time in here just to get enough gravel for dirt multiplication. This was the only way I knew how to do it, so I killed the farm, smelted the swords, and awaited judgment via the piglins, as they don't give me gravel. I walked away with about 2 stacks. I now need to make dirt, so I outlined the island with spruce to create a border, then spammed all the dirt I could make, turned it into real dirt, then repeated the process till I had the entire island covered. In your dreams, we were nowhere near close enough for that. While the oak grew, I tackled a new project, maximizing the cobblestone generator. Back in my old Skyblock days on various Minecraft servers, I used to know how to make like a 50 by 50 generator that was super efficient, but since that was years ago, me making this 2-stack generator with a redstone clock that won't have cobble burn is enough for me. Now to take on the chest monster we have growing. I want the bottom layer of the base to be for me, so I duplicated some moss and started adding it to the ground for a pop of color, without the U. I also replaced stuff in the pond with moss to make it look a little bit better. However, without a ton of moss, I'll have to finish it off with some stone. I added some azalea bushes around the base and finished up the pond. After it was done, I bone mealed it so the fish inside had source blocks. And I think we're pretty much complete. To end out my time, I figured out how my storage system was going to look with chests and barrels scattered about. Oak time. I built out the roof with an oak ring so we can transition into the next stage of our game plan. I also started to make the second floor when a wandering trader spawned in. He had sea pickles, which I grabbed up instantly to add to our pond, along with some kelp he had for sale. Back to the build, I put all of our villager stuff at the top so they can have their own space. It was a blast watching them trying to climb the stairs. And at night, I worked on the windows to the second floor. Instead of more building, it was time for my favorite activity, villager re-rolling. We need book trades because my tools are getting low, and the sooner we start this process, either with villager books or enchanting, the better. I rolled a Fire Aspect 2 book and bookshelves, so I took it. It was at least practical. I also noticed the villagers would take damage by jumping off the ledge, so I grabbed more wood and made them a railing. It was just some fences, walls, and fence gates around the circle, but it was much needed. Now it's these knockoff Squidward's time to suffer. We're re-rolling again, but in a group. I want every book imaginable. First was efficiency. I nabbed that up pretty quick and got back to work. I'm still looking for the more known ones like Prot or Mending. However, I never got them. Well, I did get Prot 4 for 55 emeralds, but I am not making that trade. I cannot justify that purchase. Instead, it was organization time. My base has chests, but they need a purpose. So I added item frames around the base and began sorting. It's such a fun process to see me put things where they belong, isn't it? Day 52, 2, we were back to chopping trees, but first, my axe is in desperate need of help. So I combined up a new one with Unbreaking 2 and Efficiency 3. Tree chopping 101 is to start with the spruce because it's much better. Plus, this is the wood we use for our village trades, so we need a lot more of it. Then I moved on to the oak trees to later build up our base onto its next layer. Speaking of the build, it was manually spawning iron golems, so I killed them instead of making a farm since I operate on one brain cell. I start the next day using the oak to finish up the second layer of our base. I wasn't exactly happy with how it looked, so I used some leftover wood to trade for emeralds as decoration blocks. Yeah, I'm using my money for decoration purposes. That's how poor I am, because these are the only emeralds I had, and this is the extent of my wealth, but I added them to the ring separating oak and spruce, basically showing off that I have villagers on the second floor, and to spend out my night, I mined cobble. Still cool how I'm not losing any more. Now that we have it, I use that cobble to bridge out once again for another wood type. This time, it's for birch. In the cycle we have going on at base, I need birch for the top layer, as unfortunate as it is. I got there and cut down the tree and collected extra dirt. After planting down 2 saplings, I added in the dirt to the island, as a little goes a long way here. Then I got to work on an iron golem farm. I'm gonna be making it on how I think it should work because I never use tutorials. It would make my life so much easier if I did. I was only able to put down the outline with how the water should flow and where the bed should go, alongside making a redstone clock to push the zombie up and down into the villager's sight range. I still don't know how villagers get scared. Day 56, we are moving villagers across the void to their new forever home. Once I had them all in, I separated them from the path and got to work on getting the zombie. I led a man holding cobblestone all the way over to the farm and somehow got him into the piston trap, but nothing really seemed to be spawning, so I'm just gonna check back in the morning. Upon getting back to the farm, an Iron Man was awaiting me, but he was stuck and I had to figure out the issue. While doing so, I may have accidentally hit the man. So sorry, sir. I swear that was not my goal. The only goal I have is to make money off killing your entire bloodline, so it's not that bad. Anyway, back to work. They were getting caught on the side, so I had to replace a bunch of blocks underneath with walls, as well as replace some of the tube with glass so I can see inside from afar. But even after all that, the walls still won't work. There was a tiny bump, a little bitty bump in the wall that for some reason made these guys stop, which made 0 sense to me, so I had to go back and replace like a bunch of the wall for no reason. But now we had iron golems flowing at a constant rate, and with that, we returned to the nether, because it's gold time. Alongside that, it's also gravel time. I need more dirt for the island, and this is the only way to do it. I got all the swords smelting, and the pig is trading. Hopefully this makes some dent in the vast dirt we need. The next 2 days are great. I start out by throwing bread at the lesser humans, and then go to mine some wood. You expected more? Day 61, I use all the wood I have to trade with the peasants and make more Fletchers. Still the best way to get emeralds, but this is for a purpose. I still want books. Please just give me a good trade, you knockoff Walmart. Oh my god, why are you walking away? Dude, don't go to sleep. I'm so done with you. Okay, finally, mending. It only took me long enough to have punched this guy in the face at some point for him to stack up his prices on me. But you know, who isn't ripping me off at this point? The Fletchers, that's who. They keep giving me money for all these sticks. Then I was back to re-rolling. I got feather falling first, and they got tired again. Are you kidding me? Day 63, you already know what I'm doing. I got a Sharp 4 book, finally something good. Then I bought Unbreaking 3 and made an anvil to finally combine all of these books I've been acquiring like Thanos with the Infinity Stones to get an almost perfect axe. It needs Silk Touch, but this works for destroying my environment around me. Is it ever a shock that I'm re-rolling villagers? No? Okay. Well, I re-rolled till I got protection for 30 emeralds. Would have been cheaper, but I guess I drunkenly slapped the man at some point. But now that my book trays are actually good and finally complete after like 4 days, I can go back to earning emeralds with all the wood I saved up. We've got a ton of books now. I combined a lot to make exactly what we need for armor, alongside needing more XP from stick trades. I also bought a fresh pair of diamond armor to use for these OP books. Right out the gate, I only had enough to make the helmet, but 25% of the way there is good. Then I went back to check on the iron farm and see if it was actually working. It did! Really well, actually. Surprisingly, it's more effective than manually killing. Who knew? I used the iron for more levels, but we are struggling. Gold farm it is then. I bet you already forgot about it, because I did after all those villager trades. I grinded up even more gold, but we were looking for levels. That's the priority, and after achieving achieving 31 levels, I got back to base and made my chestplate and pants. I need 20 levels for the boots, so I waited back in hell. Day 66, we got the boots and equipped it the full armor. Max diamond set acquired. That gets me excited. Comment below if you know where that reference is from. Now it's time to get back to bridging, but in the nether. I need blazes, and the only way is to risk my life once again over the void. But that isn't even close to the worst part. I had to safe bridge there, as the blazes could shoot me from a very far distance. With one misstep, I could fall to my death. I got my bridge close enough to get an ego and pearl. I landed directly on the edge with everything looking at me. All I have to do is get blaze rods and not die. 22 rods and a wither skeleton skull later, I had to head back to my bridge. But the angle of where I was at and where the bridge was at scared the heck out of me. I wasn't sure if I could actually make the pearl, but I threw it anyways, and we landed safe and sound. Now to just run back home for 20 minutes. Back at base, we made the first and only Eyes of Ender we're gonna be needing, 14 of these, and we can finally bridge out to the end. But we do need to prepare. First things first, I'm making a sword to withstand the battle. Off to the mob grinder for levels, even if it is really slow. Instead, let's rely on the spruce trees and villager trades for more XP. Then I bought a bow and arrows from the Fletchers, their only good trade at this point, to use against the dragon. With that, we had enough to combine our looting 3 diamond sword with a sharpness 4 mending unbreaking fire aspect book, as well as make an extra book for the elytra we plan on anviling in the end. I made up a bunch of cobblestone slabs, used my slow growing sugarcane farm to make fireworks, and since I don't want to be leaving at sunset, I chopped some more trees. A lumberjack's duty destroying the environment is never done. Time to throw our first eye. Okay, at least it points in a semi-manageable place. We have ventured to a village in a similar direction. Time to get running. Either this day is a running sim or it's a marathon. You decide. Made it to the village, then to the desert temple, and it was time to throw once more. Is that pointing west or north? I don't know my directions. Bridging Simulator 101. Day 71, we landed right above the end portal. We had made it. Right below us is the portal to another dimension. I dropped water down and jumped in. The first chest gave me a new armor template, and the second one was the exact same thing. Once in the portal room, I thought I should use the lava to make another portal so I can get back here easier, but without a flint and steel, I had to wait for wood to burn. Yeah, you know what? This is not worth it. In we go, the end. Let's just quickly take care of all these crystals and let him purge to take the full strength of my axe to the dome. After the dragon took off, I mained my bow for a little bit to chunk at her health, and the final blow came from this second perch. I got 63 XP levels from the fight and an unborn baby egg. Alright, now we bridge up and see how long it takes me to reach the city at the end of the game. Oh, what is this spawn? What is this? I was not ready for this. This has literally never happened to me before. Dude, this this is the luckiest thing ever. There's literally an end ship and the gateway's right here. Like, it's inside of the building somewhere. What? How is this possible? Yeah, it was the luckiest thing ever, specifically for the ship sitting right next to spawn. I did lose some other chests beforehand, but we all know what I'm here for. The elytra, baby. The void is no longer a threat, and each section of the map has been unlocked. I added the book we made to our new wings, and I may as well test them out while I'm here. I flew around the end for a little bit just to get a nice feel for things. And I did see some more cities, so who could pass up on that loot? I grabbed more armor, ores, and shulker boxes I can use for builds later. But what's really fun about staying in the end? No, seriously, someone tell me, because apparently, according to my recordings, I stayed in here for the next 3 days almost. You know I don't actually need this gear past me. I mean, the ores are nice, and so are the shulker boxes, but why are we here for so long? All I wanted to do was take the elytra out for a test drive. Maybe I was like taking a driver's test and making sure I could use it before I got home. But speaking of home base, I wanted to go back. All of the villagers seemed happy to see me, and the shulkers were happy to be emptied. I had gotten so much armor, I don't need more tools, I need nothing. Look at all this stuff. It's like trophies to me. We also got more than a stack of diamonds now, so if I wanted to do something with them, I can. And to end out my days, I made the magi lamp for the dragon egg. If you remember the video I got this from, which is over a year old by now, let me know in the comments down below. Day 75. The elytra has changed the game. You know how hard it was to get netherite before? Well, we were back in the nether just flying through the void like it's nothing. The goal, netherite. The plan to get it? Avoid every mob possible. The first 2 chests I saw, I got a Deborah. Not a good speed. 1 bastion later, I got the snout template, but no netherite. Then I went into treasure bastion like an idiot and wasn't trying to parkour around for my life at all. This isn't scary. All I needed are those 2 chests. Inside, I found nothing of use, unless you like upgrade templates. This process continued for quite some time. Bastion after bastion, I would pray to get some Deborah, and bastion after bastion, I would walk away with so little or nothing. With the elytra getting closer and closer to breaking than I would like, I had to head back to the overworld with only 4 ancient debris. Sad times for your boy. I spent the rest of day 78 at the mob grinder killing creepers and trading for more emeralds with the low-life Squidwards. Villager day. Don't click off the video, please, I beg. I'm not doing the normal stick trades. Okay, maybe, but I'm also making a farmer to get some golden carrots. See, I leveled him up and now I have a solid source of food. I also wanted to invest in stone cutting villagers because I have no idea what they do. Maybe they provide some good blocks. He would trade me some very weird stone stuff that I would keep, like stalactite blocks or lime glazed terracotta. Not something I use very often. Or quartz. That's not exactly part of this build. Wow, what an interesting waste of my time. Honestly, cut this out of the video entirely. One thing I still have to do is make all the librarian villagers trade for glass. I need that for the roof of this build if I ever want to complete it. Yesterday was villager day, today is birch day. I start off by planting more of the tree down as we need tons of it for the base. I added 1 last oak layer to the top of our tower and outlined it in spruce to give off another separation line. I also decorated this with slabs, stairs, and the eventual emerald blocks. But this time I'm rich, so I have so many to spare. And by the end of the day, I finally got to work on the birch on top, really only getting the main and secondary windows in place before having to go to bed. The next day, I was back to placing birch and growing it since I've already run out. I finished up the walls of the building and went inside to work on our staircase's extension. The windy staircase is really cool to make since it looks so abnormal. And once those were done, I fill out the entire floor with spruce matching the one below. Now the top of this base is a different story. I am making an observatory, so a large half sphere. And let's just say I had no idea what I was doing. Made a ring around the building, built up bent spruce pillars until they hit in the middle, flew away to see what I was messing up, and placed in a bunch of glass so I can see through my roof. However, after running out of glass and deciding to fly around to check it out, it wasn't looking great. Back to re-rolling on day 82. I need silk touch since I wasn't liking how the glass was placed, but it's a very valuable block, so I really need a nice pickaxe to rearrange the glass. I got to the roof and started to align the glass more with the spruce. It felt like the glass was peeking out of its natural range. I worked on this the entire day, placing in new glass to align it with how I wanted the old glass remade, but of course I ran out again. I traded my wood for more emeralds and then woke up the librarians for some leftover glass. I placed the last block in that night and the base was done, in an exterior way, that is. We still aren't even close to making the finished product. Alright, for the next 3 days, we head into the nether. We got the middle part of our island set, but I haven't worked on getting gravel in a while. After venturing the nether and getting nothing, we had a ton of gold, and a great sword for the farm. I got the piglins to work while I farmed the pigmen. I had the furnaces next to me constantly smelting, I had looting on my sword getting as many nuggets as possible, and I started with 50 gold blocks, so I was able to stay in here for a while, with the only thing on my mind being gravel. Yeah, I wasted all of my gold getting gravel for 3 days. 19 stacks of it later, we are back on the island cutting down all of our trees in favor of collecting our dirt and replacing it down as coarse. The birch was easy to cut down since they didn't grow into giant trees, but when I got to the spruce, it reminded me of the old days when I had to actually farm these for emeralds. After I picked up all the dirt on the island, I made it into coarse dirt and placed it all down. This batch didn't even get close to covering half the island. This is gonna take a while. Day 87, I was kind of just changing the coarse dirt into actual dirt when my hoe broke. You know what would make this whole process easier? A hoe from there. Yeah, we may as well get a new one from the ancient city. Since it's all out in the open, I don't really care about no warden. I landed and found diamond leggings and books. Then I tried to loot another chest and almost fell into the void. I'm really just looking for a good hoe down here, but instead, I got the silence armor trim, the rarest armor trim in the game, just sitting here next to me the entire video. I don't even know how to use armor trims, but this is sick. sick. Still off for a hoe though. I dive bombed chest after chest, sending off as many warden spawners as possible until I got an efficiency 5 mending hoe, which spawned me in a warden. I could go say hi, but I shouldn't. Now back to our regularly scheduled dirt farming, hoeing to the beat of the drum. Or I can go get more netherite so we can use this armor trim we have. That would be much more fun. So for the rest of day 87 and part of day 88, I'm in the nether hunting down even more bastions. I hopped in and out of them trying to just grab the valuable chest. After going through like 15 bastions, the netherite collection wasn't going great. I normally have much better luck, but I hadn't seen as many treasure bastions as I wanted. Back at base, I made up to 4 netherite ingots as well as had 6 debris smelting. Now, as a normal person would, you'd be thinking, we're gonna upgrade our armor into netherite. But no, I made it for show. Yup, in the smithing table, I'm adding the netherite to my current armor. I'm not upgrading it. Keeping the armor as diamond, but making it look so much cooler. I look sick, even if I'm not as protected as I should be. I'm just flexing on all the villagers now. Unfortunately, we are back on dirt duty, and worked on extending the spruce highway out to possible spots for future bridges. In each quadrant, we will use the dirt to make our place look homey. I also finally added a fence, making it safe, but I wasn't in love with the boring design, so I took some cobblestone walls and fence gates to spread out the spruce design on the edge of our base. It was way too bland beforehand. Then I found an actual use for that chiseled stone I bought way back then by adding it as pillars outlining our road. Day 90, I went back to trying to trade with a stone cutter to get better stone-like items, but they really aren't that good. I was hoping to buy like actual stone bricks to cut my time for smelting down, but I was wrong again. That is basically not at all what they sell. I used the brick that I bought with them to make the new decorated pot. Not that I know what this is. I tested it out to see how it looked and it sucks. But then I added a lantern inside of it and everything changed. I replaced the stupid chiseled stone for these pots because they make the lanterns look so much cooler. And I guess as a first timer to 1.20, I gotta use all that I can. Next, I was back to laying dirt in each quadrant, so I know how much I'll need. Or if maybe by some chance I finally got enough dirt after 90 days. And at the end, I added in grass blocks so that they would all grow in time for the finale. Day 91, I need cherry wood. To make the final biome of the island, I need green oak trees and pink cherry trees. So I flew out to a nearby island and placed down a bunch of slabs so that when I cut down this tree, I can actually catch the saplings. I collected 6 saplings alongside a bunch of pink pedestals that I was able to bone meal back at base. Shocker, I know, but what's coming next is more dirt. I had to outline the island a bit to figure out what I wanted each section to look like, but we still, again, didn't have enough dirt, so I had to duplicate more at the end of the day. The next day, I start to work on the biome, trying to get the tree layout situated. I wanted a good mix of cherry and oak, but the first 2 cherry trees I spawned in just didn't look right to me, so I took them down and tried again. The next quadrant over worked a lot better, with 2 trees I really liked. Setting up this custom biome all throughout the island was basically my only goal for the day. I would grow trees, hoping they look good, and fly away to check them out. At the end of the day, I added some leaves to the cherry trees to make them look better. Then a panda spawned in on the island, which I didn't even know was possible, but what a perfect animal for this base. I bought a name tag and named him Poe. This is our Kung Fu Panda chilling on the island. Unfortunately, I couldn't attach a lead to him, so I settled for putting him in a nice pink boat. To end out the day, I added pink and green leaves all throughout the island. I started the next day by making a quick farm for potatoes, and I also added a small waterfall pond to plant sugarcane there to keep up with my avid firework consumption. Next, I added in some lights as well as a path to our quadrant. Then I finished it all out by bone mealing the grass. And by that, our first area is done. 25% of the way there. Round 2 with the farms. I made a pumpkin farm erratically to add some orange to the biome, then a path to another farm for melons. But as both of those are on opposite sides, I decided to mix both of them into one farm in the middle. But I can't bone meal it as I'm out of bones. Time to visit the most forgotten farm on the island and grind out some more skeleton kills. I bone mealed the grass finally and started on the next pathway in the 3rd quadrant. This one focuses on a simple wheat farm. Technically, we don't need it for anything, but whoever uses the stuff they decorate with anyway. I also added in a carrot farm, but once again, I only eat golden carrots, so it was all for show. I finished by adding in pink petals to the path and bone mealing once again. Last but not least was probably the dumbest section. I made a beetroot farm. No one ever uses this vegetable. Comment below if you actually ever use this farm. Then I made a sweetberry patch or 2 in the biome since the path had already been completed in a different area. I wouldn't actually want to walk through sweetberry bushes. That would be awful. But I flew away from the island and looked back to see how well it turned out. There we go. That's our little base. for now. I think it looks pretty good. I mean, the top, it's a little flat, but you know, who isn't? Day 95. I want bamboo for the island and for the panda. I hadn't flown around the overworld yet, so it was time to go have some fun. The best thing along the way that I saw was a guardian temple that was continually spawning a million guardians who jumped into the void. I mean, this was the funniest thing. They just spawn in and fall into the void, but there's hundreds of them in here. So if I ever, no, I'm not taking that on. I'm gonna get instant killed in that place. It's too scary for me. Then I saw a jungle temple and thought maybe I should loot inside. This was the best decision that could have happened because I got some bamboo from a chest and I didn't have to go flying around the overworld anymore. Poe was gonna be nice and fed. At base, I planted down 5 shoots and let them grow, but we saving this last one for my baby boy Poe. Oh, there he is, Panda. I got you some bamboo, buddy. Oh, you're fat and you ate it. Good job. Now, for the rest of these days, I wanted to get more armor trims. It's like the only thing I can think of to add to our upstairs room of the base, and it would be pretty cool to have. I've gotten a few from our adventures, but nothing earth-shattering. The first one I found in the overworld was from a shipwreck, the coastal trim. Since it's probably like the easiest to find, I bet it won't be that good. I also found a pillager outpost, but it didn't have the trim in it. But that led me directly to another ancient city. I flew into the first chest almost dying, but getting the ward armor trim. And 2 chests later, we got god apples. Our first one's in the video, but they are always nice to have. A little later of looting in the city, I got 2 chests next to each other with crazy loot. Silence armor trim here too? 2 of them? That's crazy rare, dude. What? I think silence armor trim is supposed to be the rarest in the game. How am I finding it? So there's a second ancient city. Dude, what is my luck right now? What are the chances of finding 2 in a row? Just like that. I gotta be the luckiest man alive. Unfortunately, those were the only armor trims I managed to get, and I kind of already had some of those back at base, but it was enough to make me happy. At this point in the video, the only logical thing I can go for in this time frame is a beacon. I am terrified of that guardian temple we saw, so instead I headed to the nether for wither skeleton skulls. I got there, killed one, and didn't get ahead. You thought since I showed this skeleton I would, didn't ya? Yeah, no, I got it on the second one, which is great, because that means I'm already 2 skulls down since I got one earlier. I also found the rib armor trim in a chest here. I didn't even know that was a thing, but things are looking good for us already. I kept farming skeleton after skeleton for about 3 minutes before I got the 3rd head. That is like a record for me. We can now go back and get a beacon. At base, I traded with the Fletchers again with a purpose. I wanted to make sure that they were all maxed out so I could get a good starting bow to build off of for the wither fight. I bought 2 bows with punch on them and then got to work. I grabbed an unbreaking book from our librarian and combined everything up into a power 5 punch 2 infinity unbreaking 3 bow. That'll definitely work against the wither for sure. When it came to the arrows, I thanked the Fletchers as one of them had weakness arrows. Now, I don't actually know what effect that gives to the wither. Does it like make him weaker, or is it like make the hits? I don't know how weakness works, but we're using it in the fight. Lastly, I wanted to brew some strength potions to make sure the fight didn't last too long. Someone please tell me how we've updated to 1.20 and the strength now looks like P. Like this used to be a scary deep red and now it looks awful. Terrible change. Day 98, wither time. I decided on the perfect place for this fight, the top of the desert temple nearby. Little did I know this was the worst decision I would make. I flattened out the top of the battle and made our wither. I only remembered that it blows up on impact after making it. I flew back and landed into the worst fight of my life. Everything was blown up. Oh my word, I didn't think this through at all. Yeah, everything's gonna be totally fine. I potted up successfully and got to high ground and pelted the man with arrows as he destroyed the floor under me over and over and over again. But once I landed the last critical bow shot and he was down at my level, it was time to shine. We got that strength hitting for us as he stood no chance with his health. He went down super freaking fast and upon his death, I got the nether star and an ancient debris. This place is a nightmare. Look at how bad it looks here. Why did I think this would be a good idea? I got back to base and made the beacon and we had the best item in the game. And I knew the perfect spot for it, in the pond. I made a shrine out of sea pickles and on the island we actually had a beacon now. Well, not really. I went under the island and made the platform we actually need for the beacon build. I had to use gold at the bottom since I don't have enough emeralds yet, but without any more blocks, the beacon was still unfinished and I need a lot more emeralds. Hey Fletchers, I have a deal for you. You give me all your life savings, I won't kill your family, and you get some nice sticks. By the end of the day, I was getting pretty worried, so I added in more beds for villagers, because if we're gonna make the quota, we need a heck ton of Fletchers. Day 99 was spent doing just that, trade after trade for more and more emeralds. I collected up 48 more blocks with all the wood I had on hand, and it worked. We placed down the beacon and it was complete. Our island is a safe haven now. I made it give me regen and resistant for when I literally dive bomb into the earth. The end of the day was also really funny. For some reason, I really wanted fish in this pond to celebrate the beacon thing, and there were no fish spawning. For some reason, they would spawn in a random pool flowing into the void. I would literally dive bomb off the island, grab a fish, and bring him back up to the beacon pond for the rest of his life. And I watched as fish plummeted to the void in search of a home, but I was able to save some of them and add them to our collection. Day 100, the last day in the sky, our final hoorah. I grabbed 2 decent sets of armor from the End City looting we did earlier, because we're going to test out some armor trims. I first grabbed rib and snout, as that's all I can afford with my diamonds. For scout, we're going to make it out of gold, because, well, that resembles the pigment from the nether. And from the ribbed, I also realized that was from the nether, but I think redstone will fit, so we'll use that. But before we checked them out, I had to make some armor stands. So I sent stone to smelt as I used the debris I got from the wither to upgrade my first item into netherite, the axe. Well, I did let the pickaxe follow. That only took us 100 days to do. That's pretty sad. I placed the armor stands up in the attic since nothing is up here yet. I put the snout armor on there and it actually looked pretty good. I think it would probably be better on a netherite set, but it still works. And then the ribbed one, it looked trash. I mean, utterly awful. Glad we wasted diamonds on it. Instead, I got all the stuff I could together for another armor set. This one, we're using the eye trim. I used quartz to make it, put it down, and it easily looks the best of the 3 on diamond. But I'm just happy with our netherite diamond silence armor. However, we're done. 100 days has come to a close, so I grabbed my pal Poe and watched the sunset on our final day. If you enjoyed the last 100 days in Skyblock, make sure to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel. 30,000 likes and 2,000 comments and I will try my hand at Skyblock once more. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next one. Peace.